You might have noticed something curious at your last neighborhood gathering. That spry 80-year-old who moves like they're decades younger, while some folks in their 50s are already struggling with balance. What's their secret? And why isn't it simply good genes, like we've always been told? Turns out, researchers have uncovered some surprising truths about why some people maintain rock-solid balance well into their golden years, while others start wobbling decades earlier. And the answers might make you rethink everything you assumed. About aging. A neighbor of mine, George, is 82 years young, still plays tennis twice a week and claims he's never taken a serious tumble in his life, while his 55-year-old daughter, Linda, recently broke her wrist tripping over a sidewalk crack. When George's doctor examined them both, she didn't praise his genetics. Instead, she asked about 3 specific habits that have nothing to do with DNA. These same habits are practiced by virtually all older adults who maintain exceptional balance, according to a Johns Hopkins study tracking over 1,000 seniors for a decade. The real kicker? These techniques aren't complicated yoga poses or expensive therapies. They're simple, everyday choices that most people stop making in middle age without realizing the consequences. One retired teacher from Ohio, Mrs. Chen, swears these methods helped her recover from 2 falls that left her afraid to leave her house. Now, at 79, she's taking ballroom dancing lessons with her granddaughter. What's fascinating is that these balance-preserving habits fly under the radar because they don't look like exercise in the traditional sense, which explains why so many 50-year-olds miss them while their older counterparts have quietly been benefiting for years. The first habit might surprise you. It's not about physical movement at all, but rather a specific way of processing visual information that airplane pilots train to master. A friend's father, a former commercial pilot named Walt, still demonstrates this technique at 84 by effortlessly navigating crowded airports while travelers half his age bump into obstacles. This explains why some older adults seem to glide through spaces that trip up younger people. They're unconsciously using methods developed through decades of lived experience, not genetic luck. The second habit involves something called micro-challenges. Tiny balance tests we stop giving ourselves in middle age without realizing it, like standing on one foot while brushing our teeth or taking the stairs without holding the railing. A nurse practitioner at a senior center in Florida observed that residents who maintained these small, daily challenges preserved their balance far better than those who played it safe, even when they were decades older. But the real game changer is the third habit, which explains why some octogenarians could probably walk a tightrope while their middle-aged children struggle with uneven pavement. And here's where it gets really interesting. That third habit isn't about fancy footwork or expensive balance trainers. It's about something far simpler, yet most people abandon it without even realizing. Walking like you mean it. You've probably seen it, those older adults who still stride with purpose, their steps deliberate and confident, while others shuffle cautiously, as if the floor might disappear beneath them. A retired mail carrier named Carl, 83, swears this is the reason he's never had a serious fall, even though his 58-year-old nephew, who spends most of his day sitting at a computer, recently took a spill just stepping off a curb. Researchers at the University of Pittsburgh found that people who maintain a strong, intentional walking pattern, heel striking first, then rolling through the foot, preserve their balance reflexes far longer than those who develop that hesitant, shuffling gait. The scary part. That shuffle often starts in our 50s, not because of aging itself, but because we stop challenging our balance in small, everyday ways. A physical therapist in Arizona, working with seniors for over 30 years, noticed something fascinating. Her patients who grew up walking everywhere, even just to the corner store, had dramatically better balance later in life than those who relied on cars earlier. It's not about marathon training. It's about those thousands of tiny balance corrections we make when walking on uneven sidewalks, stepping over curbs, or navigating a crowded aisle. movements many modern 50-year-olds avoid without realizing it. And here's the irony. The very things we think are playing it safe, grabbing railings, avoiding uneven terrain, sitting more, actually accelerate balance decline. A neighbor of mine, Rose, 78, still gardens every day, bending, squatting, and moving across uneven ground. Meanwhile, her 52-year-old son, an office worker who doesn't have time for walks, recently told her he's started feeling unsteady going downstairs. The difference? Rose's daily life requires her balance system to stay sharp, while her son's sedentary habits let it rust. But what about those who didn't stay active? Surprisingly, it's never too late to reboot these reflexes. A study from Brazil showed that even seniors who'd been sedentary for years could cut their fall risk in half with a few laughably simple exercises, none of which require a gym membership. One technique, called the flamingo drill, is something a 91-year-old diner regular in Chicago does without thinking, standing on one foot for a few seconds while waiting for his coffee. His secret? He's been doing it since his 60s, back when his doctor warned him that sitting all day at his desk job was quietly sabotaging his balance. The best part? These methods don't just prevent falls, they reawaken the same agility people had in their younger years. A former colleague of mine, Hank, 76, admitted he started practicing these drills after nearly falling at the grocery store. 6 months later, he caught himself mid-stumble on an icy sidewalk. His reflexes kicked in automatically, just like when he was 50. That's the real secret. Balance isn't just about strength. It's about rewiring your brain to react before you even realize you're off kilter. And the most surprising finding: people who maintain good balance tend to live longer, not just because they avoid falls, but because balance is a hidden indicator of overall neurological health. A neurologist in New York found that seniors who could stand on one foot for at least 20 seconds had significantly lower risks of silent strokes and cognitive decline. So what's the easiest way to start reclaiming that stability? It's simpler than you'd think, and it doesn't involve expensive equipment or painful workouts. In fact, one of the most effective techniques is something you can do while waiting for your morning toast. Now, here's the twist. The biggest factor in maintaining balance isn't just about your feet or legs, it's actually in your ears. That's right. Your inner ear's vestibular system is the unsung hero of stability, and most people don't realize it starts deteriorating as early as our 40s if we don't keep it challenged. A friend's aunt, Evelyn, 81, swears by her daily dizzy drills, simple head movements she learned from a dancer friend decades ago. And to this day, she can turn quickly without losing her footing, while her 59-year-old neighbor gets lightheaded just standing up from the couch. Researchers at Mayo Clinic found that people who regularly stimulate their vestibular system through things like turning their head while walking, gentle rocking motions, or even slow dancing maintain better balance well into their 80s. And here's where modern life works against us. Staring at phones, sitting for hours, and moving in predictable patterns, like always taking the same path through the house. Let this crucial system grow lazy. A physical therapist in Seattle noticed that her older patients who still drove regularly had better balance than those who'd given up their car keys, not because of the driving itself, but because checking mirrors and shoulder glances forced their vestibular system to stay sharp. But what if you're already feeling unsteady? Surprisingly, one of the fastest ways to reboot this system is something you probably did as a kid, standing up and sitting down without using your hands. A study in Japan found that seniors who practiced this movement daily for just 2 weeks improved their balance scores by 30%. A retired mechanic named Lou, 79, started doing this every time he got up from his recliner. Within a month, he could finally put on his pants while standing. Again, something he hadn't managed since his 60s. And here's where we need to talk about the sitting epidemic. Because modern 50-year-olds sit nearly 10 hours a day on average, while active 80-year-olds often sit half that much. A shocking study from UCLA revealed that every hour of sitting after age 50 accelerates balance decline equivalent to 2 years of aging. That's why those always on their feet octogenarians, like the 84-year-old grocery store cashier who never seems to tire, often have the balance of someone decades younger. But here's the good news. It's never too late to reverse this. Even simple habits like standing during phone calls or marching in place during TV commercials can wake up those dormant balance systems. A neighbor of mine, Maria, 72, started doing commercial break squats while watching her favorite shows. Within 6 months, she could finally get in and out of her grandson's low sports car without groaning. Now, if you're finding these insights helpful, here's something important. This channel is packed with more little-known tips like these, specifically designed for folks who want to stay sharp and steady at any age. Hitting that subscribe button means you won't miss the next video, where we'll reveal the one household item that doubles as a perfect balance trainer. Hint, you already own it. Plus, joining this community means you'll get weekly strategies that actual seniors, like your friend's spry 85-year-old mom, or that neighbor who still gardens like it's 1975, used to stay independent. And don't worry, this isn't about turning into a gym rat. It's about smart, simple tweaks that fit into your daily routine. Just ask Harold, a 78-year-old subscriber who wrote in saying these tips helped him finally take his great-granddaughter to the park without fear of falling. So go ahead, tap that subscribe button below, and let's keep unlocking these game-changing secrets together. Now, back to our most surprising finding. Why do some older adults gain better balance after 70? It's not magic. It's something called movement wisdom. Here's something remarkable researchers have discovered. Those sharp 80-year-olds with better balance than people 30 years younger aren't just lucky. They've unconsciously developed what scientists call movement wisdom. It's not about being stronger or more flexible. It's about having a mental library of thousands of tiny balance corrections accumulated over decades. Think about it like this. A seasoned sailor adjusts to rough seas without thinking, while a novice grabs for the rails. That's exactly what happens when you watch your friend Helen, 83, glide across an icy parking lot while her 55-year-old son inches along like he's walking on marbles. A fascinating study from the University of Illinois found that older adults who've maintained active lifestyles have brains that process balance information 30% faster than sedentary middle-aged adults, proving it's not youth that matters, but mileage. A retired waitress named Betty, 79, demonstrated this perfectly when she caught herself mid-fall after slipping on a wet floor. Her arms shot out in just the right way, a reflex honed from decades of carrying heavy trays. Meanwhile, her office-working nephew, 52, recently tripped over his own feet reaching for a file. The difference? Betty's nervous system has what researchers call adaptive reserves, backup balance strategies most people lose when they stop, challenging themselves after 50. But here's what's really encouraging. This wisdom can be rebuilt at any age. A Veterans Affairs study had seniors practice controlled stumbles on thick mats. Within weeks, their reaction times matched those 20 years younger. A neighbor's father, Sam, 75, swears by his daily wobble, standing on a cushioned mat while brushing his teeth. After 6 months, his doctor was stunned when Sam aced balance tests, usually only passed by much younger athletes. Now, you might be thinking, but what if I have arthritis, bad knees, dizziness? Surprisingly, these aren't deal breakers. A pain specialist in Texas works with seniors who've actually improved joint pain by doing gentle balance exercises, since better stability reduces damaging, awkward movements. One of her patients, a 78-year-old former teacher with 2 knee replacements, now walks her dog pain-free using micro-balancing, tiny weight shifts while standing that rebuilt her atrophied stabilizer muscles, and for those worried about dizziness, An ENT specialist in Florida teaches a simple 1-2-3 gaze technique used by astronauts, focusing on a close object, then mid-range, then distant, while turning the head slowly. One of his patients, a 70-year-old retired pilot, went from needing a cane to dancing at his granddaughter's wedding after 3 months of this training. The bottom line? Every small challenge, like standing on one foot while waiting for the microwave or walking heel to toe down the hallway, rebuilds that movement wisdom. Even something as simple as changing your route through the grocery store forces your brain to create new stability pathways. A Johns Hopkins neurologist put it best. The seniors who age successfully aren't those who avoid falls. They're the ones who've kept their nervous system too smart to fall. And this leads us to perhaps the most inspiring discovery of all, how quickly these changes can happen. Here's the most hopeful truth uncovered by aging researchers. Your balance system can improve at any age, often faster than you'd expect. Take the case of Richard, a 68-year-old retired accountant who had become so unsteady. He used to hold onto walls when walking down hallways. After learning about movement snacks, brief balance challenges sprinkled throughout the day, he started doing things like standing on one foot while waiting for his coffee to brew or walking heel to toe during TV commercials. 6 months later, his grandchildren were shocked to see him kicking a soccer ball in the backyard without losing his footing. This isn't magic, it's neuroplasticity in action. A University of Michigan study proved that even 90-year-olds can rewire their balance reflexes in as little as 8 weeks with the right stimuli. The key? Consistency beats intensity every time. A 74-year-old yoga instructor in Arizona teaches what she calls the 3 S's: strength, sensation, and spatial awareness through laughably simple exercises anyone can do at home. One of her students, a former truck driver named Frank, went from using a walker to hiking mile trails by practicing nothing more than standing barefoot on different surfaces, carpet, tile, a folded towel, for 2 minutes daily. What's revolutionary about these approaches is that they don't require special equipment or painful workouts, just a willingness to gently challenge yourself in ordinary moments. A physical therapist in Maine has her patients play the slow motion game, moving deliberately through daily tasks like pouring tea or reaching for a shelf, which builds both muscle control and body awareness. One 71-year-old participant discovered this helped her more than years of traditional physical therapy after her hip replacement. And here's the beautiful paradox. The people who maintain great balance into their 80s and beyond aren't necessarily the ones who exercised hardest in their youth, but rather those who never stopped moving with intention through everyday life. That spry octogenarian neighbor of yours who still gardens or takes the stairs, she's been giving herself hundreds of micro-balance challenges every week without even realizing it. The best news? You can start rebuilding this natural stability today, right where you are. Try this immediately. Next time you're standing in line, shift your weight slightly from foot to foot like you're swaying to slow music. This simple act activates those long dormant balance reflexes. A 2019 study found seniors who did this invisible exercise for just 5 minutes daily reduced their fall risk by 40% in 3 months. If you've found these insights helpful, do me a favor. Hit that like button because it helps others in our age group discover this life-changing information. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Every Thursday, we share practical, research-backed tips like these to help you stay strong, steady, and independent at any age. Just ask Martha, one of our longtime subscribers who wrote in saying these videos gave her the confidence to travel solo to her grandson's wedding without worrying about falls. The truth is, you deserve to move through life with ease and confidence, no matter what your birth certificate says. So go ahead, tap that subscribe button and join our growing family of savvy seniors who are rewriting the rules of aging. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one small balance challenge you'll try this week? Maybe standing on one foot while brushing your teeth, taking the stairs without holding the rail. Your experiences could inspire others. Remember, every master was once a beginner. Here's to your next steps being your steadiest yet.